Carl and Damon here from Games, Brains and a Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial for short. Happy Halloween. And we have been waiting for an opportunity to do this. They made what into a TV series. We almost did it last year, but we ran out of time. And this year we've done it because there is a animated TV show adapted from a game that exists out there in a one-season format with a special that we'll talk about at the end. But with a one-season sort of animated series based on a video game that is basically Halloween through and through, because the games that it's based upon were effectively Halloween games as well. You know it is Costume Quest, the 2019 American animated fantasy web television series created by Will McRobb and Brian Casserly and co-produced by Brrraains Studios and Amazon Prime. So there you go, folks. If you want to watch this and you've got access to Prime, you can watch this entire season on Prime. Now, of course, we've said it. It is based on the video game of the same name, Costume Quest, the party-based role-playing video game developed by Double Fine Productions and published by THQ. Now, before, follow my format here, folks, and follow my format, Damon, and we will talk about the game in a moment. But the first game was released in 2010 and sees the player controlling a child who is trick-or-treating with their twin brother/sister on Halloween night when they encounter a monster that kidnaps the sibling. The player must travel around the local neighborhood, collecting items for their costume, candy, and fellow children as companions, so you're creating a party to face the leader of the monsters and rescue their siblings, taking part in basically turn-based battle segments, which is where the costume aspects come into it. Basically, the player characters and their companions are transformed into whatever they're dressed up as to fight the other monsters. The costume aspects are also used for abilities outside the battles. The first game was stylistically lovely, really enjoyable, really warm. However, I found it to have flawed combat that was really dull. The second game, which was released in 2014, is superior. Costume Quest 2 is a better game because they fixed a lot of the problems. But both games are great little fun experiences that embody Halloween, embody the childhood vibe of Halloween, the costumes and the going around neighborhoods and candy with great designs and all of that. I thoroughly enjoyed the shit out of them as well. We should mention there was a DLC expansion for the first game called Brrraains on Ice, which was released in December 2010, taking place after the events of the original game. And that's Christmas. We'll talk about that in another video. David, I played Costume Quest and Costume Quest 2 when they came out. So I am an old school player of these games, all the way back from 2010 and 2014, where you are a more modern player. So you were coming to them quite late, and when it might have been a bit more dated. I really like these games. Where do you sit on them?
Yeah, so I played both the games probably in the last 4 years, I reckon, or so. But for me, I agree with you said. The first one, although I really enjoyed it, and it was a great introduction, and it was one of those games which it's hard to tell. I was so gutted when I finished it, and for such a small game with only like 200 gamer score, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But as you said, the battle system, it was definitely flawed. But then in the second one, they completely nailed it perfectly in everything, and I'm just gutted out that I wish there was like another fray or something out of it, but you know.
Come on, Double Fine. I know you don't really do too many sequels and things like that, but get off your ass and give us Costume Quest 3. I'd love to see it. I really would. But hey, I'm just glad we have these games and I'm glad we have this show. So, how are we going to do this? This is how we're going to follow it. So first, there's only one season here, but it is split into two parts on Amazon Prime. And the reason being is because two parts was released separately. So the first half of season 1 was actually released on March 8th, 2019. The second half of the season 1 was released on October 11th, 2019. That would have annoyed the hell out of me. You split it in half and there's a big gap. That's a big gap. Now I get it. Yeah. You kind of wanted maybe to kind of build and lead up what was going on to happen around the Halloween period. But you also can't be, but then just release season 1 like in September and start that way,
Yeah.
And the holiday special, Heroes on Holiday, that was released November 22nd, 2019. So what I'm going to do now is give you a basic synopsis of the show overall. Then we're going to go through the voice actors, and then I'm going to give every episode's title and a brief synopsis of that episode. And then we're going to get to our more opinion-based stuff. So, Reynolds, Everett, and Lucy face off against nougat-munching monsters that lurk in the shadows of the sleepy town of Auburn Hollows. They must learn to use their imaginations to unlock the magical power of their homemade costumes and save the universe on a night where monsters reign. Halloween. That is your overview. It sounds so basic. But goodness me, folks. There were several moments in this show where I didn't just stop. I stopped, I did it twice, I stopped, paused, went over to my wife and said, what is this show doing to me? I made her watch a particular scene and said, what the fuck? Like this, like it touched me emotionally, or I just thought what they were saying and what they were doing was so spectacular. Yep. I was stunned. So I feel like this synopsis does not do this show justice. It is deeper than this, way deeper.
Oh yes, I mean I agree too. I mean I base a show on how much I enjoy it if I stop what I'm doing. And I was playing the Xbox and watching it on my laptop, and the first like a few minutes I was watching it, I was like nah, but then suddenly it clicked. And I literally watched the entire thing all the way through, turned off the Xbox, and just watching it because it caught my attention.
Yeah, one of the biggest reasons I think it captured both our imaginations is because what felt like at first was going to be very similar in vibe in to all our other animated shows like Viva Pinata, Pac-Man, Duck Country, where every episode was standalone. That's not the case here.
Nope.
There are standalone elements in the episodes, but basically this has a narrative that begins at a certain point and ends at a certain point, does character development, looks to try to grow the characters, change people, reveal things, and actually have a beginning, middle, and end. It has a villain that, everything. It actually has an ending at the end where I was like, it doesn't need anything else. Like, you finished the show. No wonder there's no other seasons. You didn't need it.
Nope. And as I said, if you've seen the Christmas episode too, which I watched, so
I haven't because I'm saving that for Christmas, and I don't want to talk about it now, so don't reveal anything about that. But animation, I think this looked lovely. I loved how this looked. You know, one of my favorite parts of the animation are two parts. One, the actual intro song, which is really fucking good, really fucking good. But the animation of that, but also like the title cards, I like how the hand-drawn look of them. But this animation is beautiful. It does a really good job, I think, of doing shadows, of making things look darker and stuff like that. But also the vibrancy of characters with the line drawings against backgrounds. I love the animation.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, the animation was fantastic. So from when the monsters eat the nougat and they transform, it just looks amazing. And yeah.
Yes, and you know what else is amazing? The voice cast. So I'm going to run down the important names here. Gabriel Graves as Ren. Sloane Latournier as Reynold. Isaac Ryan Brown as Everett. And Ali Urrutia as Lucy. Fred Tatascori as Norm and Ty. Max Mittelman doing Jerry, Dudley, Woodrow, Creepy Teen, and Kevin. Do a lot of voices there. Christopher McDonald as Bob, man. God damn, that's a name, doing Bob.
Yeah, it's a big name, yeah.
Robbie Damon as Rudy Toots. Well, fucking talk about Rudy. Oh! And who last? Carl Walgreen as Una. Now, those last set of characters now, Bob, Rudy, and Una, are three of the most unique characters in this show. But alongside Norm, because these are the non-kid characters, often have some of the best scenes. Without going into like specifics about episodes just yet, the sort of latter stuff involving Norm and Una in particular might be some of the best stuff I'd seen in an animated TV show to date. Like, on par with Castlevania stuff, man. Like when we talk about the best animated TV shows, we talk Castlevania number fucking one. But I tell you what, man, this at times pushes it close. Okay, so so season of Custom Quest consists of 14 episodes, and where that worry particularly came in early is it's 26 segments, 2 segments per episode. And when I saw it, I was like, "That's Viva Pinata!"
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
Now, thankfully, they both not only did they cross over, but often they just continue it in a certain way. It's very, very well done stuff to the point where it never felt like 2 separate segments.
Yeah, I always thought like it was just like an advertisement. It was just like a break and then back onto the episode.
That's a really good way to see it. I like that as well. So yeah, what we're gonna do is brief synopsis of each episode, and I'm just gonna fly through it. So episode 1 is For the Love of Lincoln and Monsters in Our Midst. The kids search the town to find this year's must-have Halloween costume until a lurking stranger takes a special interest in their first costume quest. When everyone totally freaked out by last night's eerie events, Everett leads the charge to find an adult to help solve their monster problems. A nice introduction to the show. Episode 2, The Best Offense and Belly of the Beast. When the kids sneak into Nougat Town to unlock the secret powers of the magic costumes, Lucy and Reynolds question their ability to become monster brawling heroes. This is an early indicator that there's layers to the children and how they think.
Hmm.
And the second part is determined to retrieve an important item. Ren leads the reluctant group underground into the spooky secret headquarters of the Rapungians. And this is where you might get to know who will be maybe one of my favorite of the show's bad guys, Bob.
Hmm.
Season 1, episode 3, The Fun Room and Ghosting. When all 4 kids get caught in Norm's anti-monster booby trap, they must work as one to escape or pay the ultimate price. This is Norm being introduced, and what a pleasure.
Yep.
The next part is Norm reveals the Repugnant's evil plan to the kids, and everyone is eager to join in the fight except Reynolds, who quickly grabs a bedsheet and disappears. But then learns through that an ability as well, which is one of my favourite costumes actually in the show.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah.
Episode 4, The Keychain to My Heart and The Big Con. Everett makes it his mission to become better friends with Lucy, while a diabolical Repugnant scheme threatens to shut down Nougat Town's famous Steel Dragon roller coaster. Listen, folks, this episode where Lucy and Everett, where Everett thinks, basically realizes that he wouldn't hang out with Lucy if it wasn't for the other two, is a fascinating insight into children as a group. Because we all kind of know that's the case with certain groups of friends and family and stuff like that. Like it's really, and I love how they do it out. And I think it's done in a really awkward and fun
Yep.
way. One of my early favorite episodes.
Yep. 100% agree. Yeah.
And then Ren puts the whole team in danger with a risky plan to use our Abe Jr. costume to meet our hero, Rudy Toots, at this year's Auburn Con. A very early indicator of selfishness behavior here as well. Yeah, it's incredible. Episode 5, Bacon is best with friends and Danger Bike Man rides again. And the kids enlist Norm to help with a secret mission at a family haunted house, but his awkwardness with the parents threatens to upend the entire spooky plan. Funny. This is a funny one.
Yeah.
And the second part is Everett's secret plan to reconnect with his brother goes downhill fast when he confronts the only thing more annoying than monsters, teenagers. This is stunning. This is all a big metaphor episode of just the realization that 2 brothers who are ages apart are separating because one's older and his interests are else. I thought it was really sad and also really lovely at the end where it's an acceptance almost to a degree of like, like we are going our separate ways, but maybe every so often we can reconnect. Like I loved it.
They nailed the aspect of real life and real children problems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Episode 6, Girl, You'll Be a Grubbin Soon, and Secrets and Lies. Desperate to prove she's not a baby anymore, Lucy spends her 12th birthday with some unlikely party animals. And the second part is the kids finds an intruder trashing Norm's shop, so they costume up and grill the culprit and reveal his evil intentions. Again, those synopsises would imply to you, want to stop it basic here. The first part, now I'm going to touch more upon this at the end, but the first part is a really sad story that it will continue to build upon about a mother and a daughter's connection that I adored. And the second part is about a reveal that will end up in an incredible turn of events, creating a character so conflicted that I swear at the end I thought he was losing his mind, like to the fact he has to lie about all of this. This
Yep.
show can get intense, like yeah. Right. Episode 7, Breaker Breaker and Factory Tour. It's Nougat Day in Auburn Hollow, and Everett must team up with his dad on a backwards mission to protect the town treasure from being heisted by the Republicans. And then when Una invites Bob Dickinson into Nougat Town to prove that the factory is running smoothly, the kids sneak in to decide to defend the Candy Queen. Episode 8, Stuck in the Middle with Toots and Scout's Honor. The kids are desperate for a win against the Repugnans, so Ren does the unthinkable and reaches out to a former hero, Rudy Toots, to make a secret deal. And the second part, burdened with a monstrous secret, Reynolds heads to a city hall for some R&R, where he meets a new friend who takes him on a historic adventure. Okay, first, going to momentarily stop here because the first part of this episode is my favourite of the entire season. It's the end of this one in particular, where a youngster, a child, has to learn that the people you look up to aren't always good people. And the end of this episode, with the music playing, that really emotional synthwave, and then just cutting to her clicking unfollow online. I brought it to my wife and said, watch this and tell me what I'm watching. This is not supposed to make me feel like this. But the power of that scene, for her heartbreak and realization that, hey, Rudy is just not a good guy. And that the act of unfollowing online is such a big deal for obviously an age group. And this is 2019, so this is modern shit.
Yep.
Blew my freaking mind. It really, really did. I absolutely adored it.
It's extremely deep, and it also evaluates the problems that we have nowadays too in real life, which as I said, they nailed every aspect of this TV show.
Yes. Okay, episode 9, Schmooze Cruise Perfect Vision. Bob Dickinson's Smooth Cruise, Everett enlists the whole team to help save his love-struck brother Benji from becoming a totally boring grown-up. There's some funny stuff here. This is an antics-based one. And the second part is Lucy takes destiny into her own hands after her witch costume reveals a terrifying family secret that may explain the mystery of never relating to her mother. And there's a good mystery around this one as well, which has a really sad ending too as well. That Lucy and her mother story across this is quite touching.
Yeah, definitely.
Episode 10, Dry Cleaners and Dragons, and In the Mouth of Badness. Ren breaks away from the rest of the group to go on a secret mission with Una, but she's ready to fight side by side to win a costume master. Love the dynamic with Una and her unwillingness to accept these kids. The kids make a last-ditch effort to stop Bob from taking over Nougat Town by tricking him into a mouth-watering showdown that no Repugnant could ever win. I knew I was invested in the show when I found this entire sequence so tense. I wanted to see Bob caught, and I thought it would all work out and all that. It's incredible how they get around this all as well.
Yeah, I was not expecting how he got past here.
See, episode 11, Deal With It, Sibling Showdown. The kids search for meaning at a lake while Norm goes on a secret mission to right his past wrongs. Which is this, oh man, this is where this show just went, wow. And the whole team is in shambles. Ren takes her rage out on Reynolds while Everett and Lucy do their best to keep things from getting worse. There's a fight scene, an epic fight scene in this that has such weight and power. I was blown away by this sequence of events. The realization of, well, that I knew what Norm was going to do. But we're not quite there yet. We're not quite there to the impact, because episode 12, What About Norm? And Oh Grubban, Where Art Thou? With Ren on the warpath, because Ren has lost her shit. Because she's found out the truth about Norm at this stage, and that Reynolds lied. But Reynolds' inability to cope with it as well was a really interesting sequence of events and stuff like that. Yeah. Norm has to try to heal the divide by basically revealing to everyone the truth about his past. And we get it all here, exactly why he is the way he is, what did happen here, Una and all of that in what I think is fucking phenomenal. And it's like, guys, you didn't have to write this so dark. You didn't have to do that to his father. You didn't have to do this. But I love that what they did as well made it Bob as well, because it made Bob even a bigger fucking villain.
100%.
With no one else around to help lead the way, Reynolds must find his inner Grubman and bring together an unlikely team to save the day. Now, I kind of saw this coming, but I still like how it played out because there's always this dispute about who they're more scared of as well.
Yeah.
And that brings us to all well thought out episode 13, the finale of All Hallows Eve. And it's All Hallows Eve, Halloween night has come, and no nougat is safe. And our big ending that gives us a satisfying ending for our characters and our stories, all getting wrapped up and ticked off. And in some cases, it's just an acceptance of people of a certain way of things are. Yeah, hopefully through that synopsis, we've given you an overview that we thoroughly enjoyed the show. But I want to now delve into favorite moments, scenes, things that you just remember and stand out. So I'll start with this. It isn't just good to watch, entertaining. It's fucking funny at times. I laughed several times, but I also think it's smart too. I think this is aimed for a young audience, of course. But what it doesn't do is it doesn't talk down to children. It doesn't say, hey, you're stupid, so here's stupid stuff for you. It goes, no, we're going to deal with heavier and tougher subjects that you can relate to as a child, but as an adult, you can also kind of look back and sometimes in a nostalgic way, sometimes you can compare things to and so on. It makes the show really likable.
Yes, yeah. I mean, out of all the animated shows that we've seen, this one here is. I mean, the Pacific episode for me, the whole Norm episode for me, is one that stands out of everything because from a character who was only sort of like a bit part character, for me, from like I don't know the halfway point, he becomes my main focus of the show because he is just his story, his background, and it's proper deep and emotional, man. And I love the scene of him and Everett sitting as Everett.
Everett, yeah.
Yeah, Everett, yeah, him and Everett sitting down together, and him explaining to her that he's not a bad guy. He's
Oh no. You mean sorry? Yeah, you're talking Ren. Yeah, you're talking about Ren when Ren
yes,
comes.
yeah,
When Ren
yeah,
comes to
sorry.
try to kill him.
Yeah, and that scene where he's explained the emotion is and the voice actors were fantastic, to pull it off too.
Yeah, there's an earlier scene actually involving Reynolds. When Reynolds kind of talks about how he's struggling effectively to cope with his secret, you get this scene where they kind of just sit on the floor together. The camera kind of pulls out, and that's how the episode ends. And I remember saying to my wife, I said, "You're not going to believe what this fucking show's just done now." But also, there's a really sweet scene at the end where Una just simply gives him a kiss on the cheek.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that's not like that at the ending, because without going to, I mean, we have to talk about some spoilers, but ultimately, him and Una were childhood friends. But when he revealed to her that he was a monster in disguise, because that's what he is, she hates him so much that they fought and she rejected him. And it's really sad and horrible stuff. It really is. But also, like, Bob killed his father. Like, there's some serious stuff going on here. It's really strong stuff, but it's also got real world comparisons about if sometimes your true self will result in you being rejected, how friendships fall apart through lying and not being true to yourself and honesty and stuff like that. It's all really interesting. And then we get that massive fight between Ren and Reynolds, the brother and sister pairing, because Reynolds lied and Ren will not listen to anything he has to say. And they fight. It is. Have you seen the third Matrix movie?
Yeah.
So you know that really stupid fight at the end that's really big and like between Neo and your man and in the rain and the buildings and all of that. That's what it reminded me of because it even ends in a massive crater that they create. Like, you know what I mean? I got a little bit of that. But the betrayal here as well, you know what I loved, right? The whole thing is Ren feels betrayed. And there's a point where it looks like they might resolve it, but she betrays him instead. I loved it. I was like, that's how you get your revenge.
Yeah, that shocked me because I actually thought she was going to accept his hand and then just like to lock him in the puddle of mud. But yeah.
Loved it, absolutely. And involving it as well, everything involving Bob, but in particular, by the way this show builds it up, his face off with Una at the end, I was like, no, you know what I mean? Like, that's how good of a job they made Bob a villain. Like, and he was a comedy character early on, and I thought, oh, he's gonna be silly. But by doing the epic, by showing at the end how he manipulates the monsters, how he stays in control, but then doing the backstory around Norman, seeing the level of evil he is, it meant his face up with Una felt bigger. And I actually thought this show might be brave enough or crazy enough to have him kill Una. I thought he might do it. I'm glad he didn't because I loved Una's character. But like, you
Yeah.
know, they're like, you wouldn't surprise me if you have Bob win this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. But the thing I liked about Bob is that it was a likable villain. Yes, he wasn't like he had the ability to
Charm.
make you think
He
that
had
yeah, the charm. That's it, the charm.
he
Yeah,
had charisma.
mm,
A major part of that is because Chris McDonald does that voice. Oh my God, how good is his
yeah,
voice in that? He
yeah,
brings so
fantastic.
much energy to it. So obviously, I previously mentioned as well, but one of my favourite moments is the unfollowing of Rudy Toots and the music that accompanies it. But I also want to mention, because at the end, there's an attempt for Rudy to try to win back the affection of Ren, but it fails. She won't accept it. But his last scene in this episode, and it uses the same sort of synthy, sad music as him going out the door and going, I swear I will win your support back. And I was
Mm,
just like, that is how you write a character's ending. Because
yeah,
it would have been so easy for him to have done something good in this. And I'd be like, oh, I like you now, and all of that. And it would have been easy. But no, it doesn't end that way. She doesn't trust him. She still doesn't like him, doesn't trust him. But he's kind of like, I know I've messed up. And I've seen this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to work on being a better person. I was like, I love that. A
they
better
left it.
monster.
They left that open. They left that open for many. It could have gone either way. So
I just loved it. I really, really do. Of course, we mentioned the episode where Everett tries to reconnect with his brother. His older brother is phenomenal.
mm,
But every cat, notice, folks, every character gets something because Everett gets all of that stuff with his brother. We've obviously got Ren and Ren on what they go through. We've got Norm, Una, Bob. All the major players get something. But so does Lucy,
mhm.
who really, you could argue, didn't need it and could have been forgotten about. But there's stuff with her mother. So basically, the overarching story is Lucy's mother can't accept that her little girl isn't little anymore. And Lucy has to deal with the guilt of wanting to grow up, be seen as older, not treated as a kid, but sees the pain on her mother's face. So really struggles to kind of deal with that guilt and often just gives into what her mother wants and the more, oh, I'm too old to do this, but then sees how upset her mother is. And obviously it's quite clear Lucy's a single mother. Lucy's mother's single mother, like so, like her dynamic. She's seen a little, and she knows it. She when she sits down at the end to talk about like I know it. I know it's happening. I know it's coming. And I guess I'm just trying to hold on to it just that little bit longer. Come on, man. What are you doing to us? You know, you're a
Yeah,
father to three children. I'm a father to a 21. You know what I mean? We're both parents. Like,
mhm.
so we're seeing this sort of dynamic happen to a certain degree. Anyone who's a parent can relate to this vibe. It is incredible that every character gets something. And I love that. It means they all get something that stands out in my head.
Yeah. I mean, one of our biggest criticisms of TV shows or films is what is the point of showing this character? We have no emotions, no connections, but every single character had that ability and had
Yeah.
that time. You know, even though it's only a short like TV series, we still had that enough time to build that.
Let's deal with each one individually and explain what we think their dynamic, what their thing is. So we have Reynolds. Reynolds' entire thing about the show is dealing with the guilt of harboring a secret, a
Mhm.
deep secret that only he knows. But he has to keep it secret, not only to protect Norm, but he kind of knows where it will go if he reveals it. But it takes his toll on his mentality, and that is fabulous.
Indeed.
Ren's angry. Ren is an angry girl dealing with a lot of emotions, and that comes out for her fury towards the monsters. She also has to eventually deal with the betrayal of the person who should never, in her eyes, should never betrayed her brother.
Yep.
What we got? Everett. He's watching his older brother distance himself bit by bit and disappear from his life. He used to play together, he used to have fun, he used to dress up and do this and so on. But now his older brother is more interested in girls and stuff like that. And he's struggling with that dynamic. And of course, we've already mentioned Lucy having to grow, feeling herself grow up and wanting to do more, involve things, not be treated like a kid, but also dealing with the guilt of watching her mother be hurt when she refuses or, and stuff like that. That's just the four bloody kids.
I know.
That's some good damn writing.
Hmm.
I I recommend this. No, without a shadow of a doubt, watch this show. And I think this is really important. I don't think it matters if you played the games or not. I don't
No.
think it matters because the games don't have this level of depth to it. All I think the games do is have a connection to the story and the world. You might be able to go, well, I know what Repugnants are, and I know the whole monster stuff and all of that, like that. But I don't think the games are even close to the depth this show has.
Yeah, I mean, it was never possible to make a true adaptation of the game to this TV. It'd be
I
impossible.
well, I don't even know what that adaptation would look like.
I mean, you couldn't have a TV show of people knocking on doors and stuff like that.
It'd be quite boring.
Exactly. But considering this came out in 2019, I'm surprised that we never got a costume case like free. I was saying because
Yeah, open up the world a bit more. Use areas from this story. Like there's stuff there to be done. But I'm just so pleased. I'm just so pleased because when we started this show off, I was generally worried about it just being, oh, this was really dull, and we were struggling in how to do it because we didn't want to do an episode by episode breakdown. It felt like it'd be too long, and we wanted to keep this in theme for Halloween. But doing it this way, I think hopefully we've summed up how great we think this show is.
and the thing is that we can never do it justice by talking about it. You have to go see it yourself, and that'll do the justice.
And give it the time it deserves. Give it the time it deserves. You know, early on, it can be a bit slow and you may not see the character the depth you want, but follow this through to the end and you will be seriously satisfied. Of course, we are going to return to this show around about Christmas time. There's a half an hour special, which is about based around obviously the deal, which is it kind of ties into the DLC aspect of things and all of that. But that's for the future. This is the Halloween show costume quest that we wanted to talk about. But have you got any thoughts on it already that you want to share? We'd be glad to hear them. Let us know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to see more content like this, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It is gratefully appreciated. You can find us over at gbhbl.com, our full website where reviews, news and so much more goes up daily. We're also on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, at gbhbl. Just search for gbhbl and you will find us out there. We also have merchandise on sale. You can access the shop via the website.